Hi friends, it's Caitlin and welcome back to the Floating Rock Podcast. I hope you're having the most incredible day ever. As we covered last episode very briefly, I was on a little trip about a week ago now, and I just had so many fun, if you will, realizations, and it just really opened my mind to remember that when you change your environment and when you change your input, it changes your output. That can look like a lot of different things, if you will, in life. But I did forget that going on trips and seeing different people and just being in a new physical space also inspires so much new thought and change, and just it can do so much for you. So in case you have a trip coming up or you're like, oh, maybe I should go somewhere, even if it's small or you're just driving somewhere, maybe let this be some inspiration for you, because you will truly probably leave said weekend, said week, or said month, however long you're going, with a lot of new perspectives and thoughts and maybe even life realizations. However, on this particular trip, I went to go visit, like I said, some of my college friends. So I happened to be in Southern California, kind of around LA. And if you're new here, my besides podcasting, I want to be a TV writer. And so I was kind of in the land of dreams, if you will, feeling very inspired. And I was really feeling the whole, I'm walking around LA, I'm wow, this is where people who do what I want to do, this is where they live, this is where they walk around, this is the land of dreams per se. And I had gotten a coffee or a breakfast with another kind of fellow TV writer or person who's farther along in her career than me, and she had asked me something along the lines of, oh, do you think you'll ever come back to LA, or any sort of, and just kind of a 5-year or a future looking question revolving around being in California. And I kind of told her, I was I don't know, if one certain thing happens, that will just change my entire trajectory of what I end up doing. And if any certain things happen, that will just fully change your trajectory. As I feel I've really learned this summer, not even summer, this whole coming up on a year being home from school, is every little thing you do, everything that you achieve, everything that you say yes to or no to, that will just build to where you are today. And it's kind of crazy because you really can't, I love the idea of a 5-year plan, but in a way, if one big thing happens, your whole 5-year plan's out the window, because that will just change the way that the direction that things are going in. So I don't know, I kind of leave that lunch and, it's kind of sitting and I'm thinking about this question, and I end up just going on a little hot girl walk around the neighborhood, and I have a realization. To preface this realization, I've gone through a few things in life recently where it's become clearer and clearer that I avoid my feelings a little bit. Not the worst in the world, probably, I hope, but definitely not as in touch as I kind of thought that I was, or that maybe other people, I don't know, that's been a theme in my own personal life that I'm sharing with you now, I guess. But I think that kind of is a key part to how I got to this realization, if you will. So I'm thinking about that. I'm walking around. I'm in California, the land of dreams, or I guess LA. And I kind of start to feel what am I doing? What am I doing? And I think what was also spiraling around in my head during this trip was, it is almost a year since I graduated. And I am up here kind of in the land, if you will, of my alternate life path. If you don't really know much about the film industry, a very common path for becoming a writer, or even kind of anyone, I guess, in the industry, a lot of the times looks like either working at a production company or an agency, working at someone's desk as an assistant. And that's kind of a great way to, build more contacts and network and just be in the industry. And that was, I think, what Chapman and my college was kind of pushing a little bit more, was, the route. It's definitely a route that has proven to work. And yeah. And so I'm just I'm up here, I'm walking literally past these agencies, and I'm kind of just having this moment of oh my God, it's been a year. I'm living at home. I'm doing everything that I'm up to back in Hawaii. And it's just trippy and kind of weird and confusing to be up here around sort of the filmy areas and not be a part of it in a way, or not be a part of that film world. And, these thoughts are coming in the whole year of it all. And I start to feel, put it here in writing, I started to feel a little bit lost. And from the outside of my life, I feel it doesn't really seem like one of much lostness or confusion or lack of direction. And I wouldn't say I quite have a lack of direction, but I had this big realization that I never let myself feel lost. And, I had that whole "you're not a productivity machine, you're human" episode. And, as we can tell, by a lot of the things I think I talk about, either it's a whole episode or just briefly, I've been going through a lot of like thoughts about productivity and just like all that kind of stuff. So I just kind of, within that moment of letting myself feel lost, realize I've never really let myself feel lost. I feel like I've always had a plan. I always can see kind of the next step ahead of me, and being up there and just kind of like being out of my kind of fishbowl that I live in here of knowing what's going on, right? It was just weird and new. And I think that as someone who likes to propel forward a lot, like I didn't quite realize that sometimes ambition, or maybe just my ambition or that drive or whatever, is actually can be a cover up for lostness and confusion. If you keep moving, you can't be lost, you know? There's a difference, I feel like, between standing in the middle of a forest, admitting that you're lost, versus keeping on trudging a path and not admitting that you're lost. You're like, well, I'm going somewhere, that's for sure. And it's like, yeah, you are, girl. But basically, my overall thought here was, it kind of felt good. Being able to, it wasn't even that long of a moment, I'm not going to lie, but having this moment of kind of looking at my alternate life path and just being like, whoa, like it's almost been a year, like what am I doing? Letting myself feel lost for maybe even just that mere 5 minutes. I just had such a moment of clarity that lostness is not a bad thing. And I think that I've been perhaps running from that feeling of being lost by having these big goals and always keeping myself really busy. But in that moment I realized, like, hey, you can have big goals and you can be busy, but you also are allowed to feel lost. Like my big, like probably the title of this episode or something is going to be like, this was my big lesson I learned right there in that moment. Being lost is not a bad thing. It just means that you've moved enough to lose direction again. And I was like, ugh. Oh my God, because truly I really did think that lostness was a bad thing. I just had like a more negative mindset around it. Like, no, I'm Caitlin, I don't get lost. Like, no, like that's just not, I mean, not that I never do, but you know what I mean? Like, not something I would admit to terribly often. And I loved this mindset switch because it made me think about myself and even other people in my life. I spent the whole week seeing, my college friends that I've, had some phone calls with, but haven't really gotten to see and like spend time with in almost a year now. And it just kind of made me feel comforted, and for all of us in a way, that we think that lost is this bad thing. It almost like lost does feel like a stagnant sort of word. But it was really interesting, this revelation of, if you stay the same, if everything in your life stays the same, you don't do anything new, you don't add something new to your routine, you don't get a new job, you don't make a new friend, there's so many things, but if everything stayed exactly the same, you would never be lost. And even those things can be internal. Like maybe your outside life does kind of look the same, but like internally things change. But you can't get lost if you're not changing and moving and growing, right? And so I just love the idea that the reason I became lost, and the reason that a lot of us become lost, is actually a good thing. It means that you're actually moving and progressing and growing and turning into a different version of yourself. And my favorite way to put this really is, imagine your life like a Minecraft world, a Minecraft server, a Minecraft map. I feel like all of us, most of us are Gen Z here, or maybe if you've ever played any sort of video game before. But as you move along, there's the horizon, right? You can't see what's past it. But as you move along, the map just keeps developing, and like it's kind of like an endless world, if you will. And that's exactly what it tangibilized to me, was if you stay in the middle of that map, if you don't move around, you can't get lost. Everything's the same. But if you move forward, you logistically and realistically, you can't know what's coming your way. Therefore, you will be lost again. And I don't know, it personally gave me a lot of hope, and weirdly enough, a lot of clarity, that being lost is not this reflection of you not having your shit together. It's not this reflection of anything terribly too bad. It realistically just means that you have moved enough to get lost again. I loved that realization, and I think there's still a part of me that's moving through that a little bit, which I kind of like and enjoy, especially given that recent realization about myself. I'm trying to really, when I'm having those moments, actually sit in it a little bit more. And oh God, surprise, surprise, you get more clarity when you feel your emotions. Like, wow, Caitlin, go back to preschool. No, I think a lot of us might actually deal with that. And it's making me think too about something similar of just like finding the beauty in life's ebbs, because you just know, inevitably, I like to always bring this up too. It's kind of like driving a car. If you say, I'm going to learn how to drive a car, you will learn how to drive a car. Like, there is just no world where that won't happen. The first time I got behind the wheel and didn't know how to do it at all, it was trippy to think that at some point in some amount of time, I will know how to do this, even though I don't know how to. And I think the same goes with being lost. If you are lost, you will inevitably not be lost again. Like, you will find your way, you will find that drive, you'll find that next moment of clarity. And what's crazy again is inevitably you will be lost again because you are moving. I just like the idea too of even when life isn't like, you know, those times when you're just soaring and you're on a high and you're like, I'm in a flow, like ebbs and flows. I'm in a life flow and everything's going awesome. It's going my way. I am on my shit. And it can make sometimes those ebbs feel a little bit like, oh, like, why am I going through this right now? Like, why am I ebbing? But it does make me think that too, for a lot of these things that we see as bad, life's ebbs, like being lost, like being nervous. Like, you know, as we know, nervous a lot of the time just means excitement. I think that there is a beauty behind a lot of these things. And I think, especially sometimes if you are a little bit like me and you do skew to the very positive end of things, sometimes you can almost villainize those things a little bit more because it's like they're not happy-go-lucky. But it's like, no, like, there can still be beauty behind these quote-unquote not awesome feelings. And not only beauty, but lessons. Like, that's one of those things where you can go through so much, and I'd say like the majority of people don't take back a lot of the harder times that they've lived and whatever, just because of how much they've learned and just experienced through it. So yeah, definitely a shorter episode today, but it was just this one concrete lesson that I felt like I really had to share with you guys, because maybe you will resonate and you'll be like, oh my God, I am feeling a little bit lost. And there is a way out of it, but admitting it and actually just sitting in it for a second, I think will give you so much more clarity and actually will give you more direction. Kind of similar to like, if you are lost in the woods, stay fucking put. You know, like, it's easier to be found. It's easier to find your way out. Stop, breathe, figure it out, rather than just keep going, because realistically, you're actually walking further up the mountain instead of back down and out of the forest. And I also challenge you today as well. Is there something else maybe in your life? Maybe it was this one and I just kind of said it for you. Is there anything in your life that perhaps you've been kind of feeling in your peripheral vision and you just haven't quite admitted to it? And, you know, perhaps, maybe there actually is a bigger lesson behind it, and there is more, maybe a good thing that will come from you being open to accepting feeling perhaps lost, or maybe being open to accepting perhaps you feel insecure about something and you just didn't realize it. And oh, if I keep covering this up, then I can't be insecure. You know, like, there's a million things that you could personally be feeling right now, and probably for me too. Like, this is just one thing of a million things that I think about, and probably for you as well. And I don't know, I think big thing from today is, as I'm learning, and guys, this is something cool and fun too, is as much fun as it is to make the pod and be like, oh, I want people to see it. Like, there is a part of me that's like, I can't wait to look back at this when I'm older and just be like, look at what I was learning at the ripe age of 22, and just to see if I'm like, huh, how woke of you, how smart, or for me to be like, no, if you feel something, you'll get clarity. Like, sue me. We all learn things at different times. But yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you guys today and remind you once again that if you were ever in a feeling of being lost, it is not a bad thing. It does not mean that you are disorganized or you have no direction or, you know, anything bad internally about yourself. It just means that you've moved enough to be lost again. And honestly, I'm very proud of you to, like, the fact that you keep moving and that your life is not stagnant, like, that's great. And what a beautiful thing it is to be lost, you know? So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope it was like a fun little lesson for your maybe drive this morning or whatever you happen to be doing right now, your treadmill walk. And yeah, I just want to let you know that it's okay to feel that way, and I want you to let you know that it's okay to feel that way. And the more that you allow yourself to feel it, the more that you will figure it out. And I totally believe in you. And maybe you're soaring on top of the world right now, and that's awesome too. Maybe you're like, can't relate, diva. But also, I think there's a world where anyone in their 20s is feeling kind of like this, no matter what their situation looks like, because there is so much to be confused about and to feel quote unquote lost about. Life is crazy. But yeah, guys, thank you for always learning and growing with me. And this is lots and lots of fun as per usual. Follow the pod at floating.rock.podcast, subscribe on YouTube, rate it on Spotify. It helps a girl out. It makes people be like, wow, 35 people thought this was a good podcast. I should listen too. Okay, yeah, that's enough from me, and love you lots. I believe in you. You got it. I would say you have it under control, but it's okay if you don't, because we're all learning and growing every single day, and every lesson is so beautiful. Yay. Okay, bye-bye. See you next week, guys.